Signum Fresh is a limited company, and as the name suggests, we deal with fresh produce, that is fruits and vegetables, but we have majorly been known for fruits, and that is avocado, mango, pineapple and passion fruits to Europe and Middle East. With regards to business, human rights means in everything that you're doing, you're dealing with people. So when you're dealing with people, may it be in your company as staff, when you're supplying to people, consumers, suppliers and everybody else, it means you're dealing with people and there are rights that are important to them. So it means you cannot do business without considering the rights of the people that you're dealing with. For Signum Fresh, it is important for us to respect the human rights of everybody who is involved, because when you're doing this, one, you guarantee that you're not going to have a turnover of employees because the working conditions are good, which means you are going to have more productivity. Secondly, you guarantee to your customers that you are doing everything according to their standards, that is the European standards. And finally, you're able to observe growth, because when people can relate well with you from supply all the way to the consumers, then it means you are growing in terms of volumes that you're able to produce.
Human rights is very important because without productivity of your staff, you may not be able to excel. Remember, as a director, you cannot do everything. Everything has to be done in coordination with the people you are working with.
Our focus areas with regards to human rights are majorly three. First of all, we focus with internal affairs, that is our staff and the management. Secondly, we focus with the community around us, and we also focus a lot with our consumers. What do I mean by that? When we are talking about our employees here, we need to know that they have safety when they are working here, that the conducive environment is enabling enough, and they are able to get the best that they can get from the management. We are also dealing with a lot of other people. We want to make sure that we are not contributing to any violation of human rights, and we also want to produce goods that are safe for consumption to our consumers, which means all around we need to make sure we observe the rights of every other person.
Key focus areas means working hours, giving them an environment, conducive working environment, which is peaceful and harmful free. Number two, I've said paying their salaries and allowances on time. Number three, providing medical cover to them. Fourthly is giving them breaks or leaves wherever they are due.
Some of the benefits that Signum Fresh has realized from observing the human rights and respecting them. Number one, we have been able to retain talent. You find that we don't have a lot of grievances and people are not quitting. And then another thing I would say is you avoid some of the costs of remunerating people just because they took you to some mitigation or through some legal processes. You are able to solve your disputes there, and it is less costly. And I can also say when you are working harmoniously, productivity goes up, which means you realize more profit, and that is how we were able to scale within 2 years to where we are right now with 2 pack houses, and the growth is evident. One of the major challenges that we encountered when we started this process of encouraging the observation of human rights and respect, one is literacy, because we are dealing with a lot of people who are not literate, which means now the opportunity was to try and make sure we customize the policies to a level that everybody can understand them. We also had a challenge of maybe finances, because sometimes when you're organizing these trainings, you cannot just call people. Sometimes you have to feed them, you have to make sure that the logistics are in place. So another thing is now the budget. And then the need for people to absorb change, because a lot of people are very resistant to change. But now that is changing with time as we are trying to close the gaps. We were lucky enough to work with UNGC, because initially we were ignorant. We just thought business is about making profits. You input your capital and and whatever you output, you get your profits, that is it. But now we are able to understand through now the due diligence that you're able to identify the gaps when you are processing and when you're doing your day-to-day business. You are able to see how well you can address those gaps, and at the end of the day, you're able to assess how well you have done with that, and that is how Signum Fresh understands human rights due diligence. I would say our company has really benefited from the program because, number one, as I said, we do not even have a policy, a single policy. Now, as we are speaking, we have a lot of policies courtesy of the UNGC. We have done a lot of trainings. Remember, we are not training from the blues. We are training from the training that we have gotten from the compact. Again, this whole thing of awareness has shifted how people see us as a company, because there are a lot of other companies, but when people talk and they are saying we like this company because they are able to avoid ABCD and they are able to promote this and that, then that is very important to us. Again, we have been able to comply with European standards. Things like Global GAP, Good Agricultural Practices, GRASP, we have been able to comply with SMETA, and I know those people in compliance are able to understand these terms, but it has really put us there in the marketplace where now we can deal with all those other players in the European Union. My key takeaway from participating in the Impact program is, number one, it is important to acquire knowledge. In whatever you're doing, it is important to acquire knowledge. Number two, when you get knowledge, implementation is key. One of the things we have been taught from the compact is how to implement, and you will actually have a tool on how to implement and how you can gauge the implementation. And number three, on how to report back. Because at some point, you will need to have a report, and then you need to report on what you have done and what you have not done, so that you can be able to gauge where you are. My advice to other business leaders, and mostly those who are in the same industry as we are or the same value chain, I would really encourage them to join UNGC or United Nations Global Compact because of the kind of trainings these people give you. As I said, a lot of the business people start from a point of ignorance. So it is important that you get the right training first, so that whatever you're implementing, remember what one wise man said, things don't go wrong, they start wrong. So if you start wrong, you'll notice when you are too far. It is important for every company to notice that we are not just doing these things for compliance. It is beneficial to those people who are observing it. It is beneficial, it is profitable to companies, and it is important that every other person observes and respects human rights in all its diversity.